There is a right way to die. I do not mean a brave way. I mean an orderly one, and I've had a plan, and I want that entered first, because what follows is going to sound like a man losing his grip, and I have never lost my grip on anything in my life. That has been a specific complaint, actually. There's a folder. It is labeled. In it, the deed to the plot, paid off for 11 years, the insurance, the name of the man at the bank, the furnace instructions, because nobody else in this family has ever once changed that filter, and a page of what I suppose you'd call wishes, though I wrote them as procedures, because procedures are the only language I trust to survive me. The doctor gave me a number of months, and I respected her for the number. But most of them won't give you a number. I was 76. I thanked her. I drove home the long way past the water. I updated the folder, and I sat down to die correctly, which I'd understood to be my last job, and I'd have never missed a day of work in my life. And then April came, and my knee came back. I want to be careful here, because this is the part they get wrong at the diner. The knee had been gone for years. Going upstairs I had a system, and the system was the railing. In April the system retired. I stood at the bottom of the stairs and went up like a man of 50, and at the top I stood still for a while, holding the thing a man holds when a debt he'd accepted is suddenly torn up in front of him. And then the reading glasses went wrong, and I had them checked, and the glasses were fine, which was the first bad sign, a thing I owned being fine. And then the gray started backing out of my hair the way fog backs off a lake. The doctor ran everything twice and said, and I'm quoting, "This is not possible," and I have the date. October the 9th. I went home and got out the book I keep, and I'd have kept a book my whole life, columns and dates, what the trucks cost, when the gutters were done, and I'd opened a new page and wrote. That was unexpected. I am not a man for strong language, and that is the strongest language that has ever appeared in my voice. I audited it, of course. That is where a man of my training starts. What is being taken? Something is always being taken. A windfall is a bill with better manners. I have believed that since before I could shave, and it has never once cost me money. I went over the terms of this thing for months looking for the taking, and I could not find it. The knee was simply returned. The years were simply returned. It took me until spring to accept the audit, and I will write the finding here in one line. This was not a bill. It was a refund. Somebody, somewhere, went over the account of my life and found an error in my favor, and I have never in 80 years received a refund I did not argue with, and I did not argue with this one. That was unexpected, too. The neighbors talk. Let them. They're good people. Talk is what they have. The new doctor calls it a miracle, and I have noticed that miracle is the word they use for a thing they voted not to study. None of them know the real part anyway. The body was the small part. I want whoever reads this to understand that the body was the small part. The first sentence arrived 5 years in. I was 71 by then, which is to say I'd been 71 once already, on the way up, and this was my second pass through it, going the other direction. I was at the sink. And Nathan, you said to me on the water, and I am not going to put the whole of it here, it's between us, it was short and you were loud, stood up in the middle of me and made sense. All of it. All at once. And not the words. I had always had the words. I could have recited the words at your trial. The sense arrived, whole, 5 years late, while the water ran over my hands, which are a younger man's hands now, and I stood there and received it in the way you receive snowfall. 5 years, from the saying to the hearing. I have charted it since. Of course I have charted it. They come one a year now, the things you said to me, and they come in backward order. The latest first, and the lag holds at 5. Whatever you said to me at some age of mine, I hear it when I come back down through that age plus 5. I meet your sentences on the return leg, like mile markers on a road I drove at night the first time. And the mail in this family has always run 5 years late. I just never lived in the right direction to receive it on time. I will enter 2 of them. The 2 is what I can afford right now. 1 year the sentence was about the book. You wrote a book, and later you told me I'd forgotten I read it, and you said it flat, the way a man reports a measurement. I heard the sense of it at the mailbox, coming down through 68, holding a seed catalog. You were right, is the finding. I read your book in 2 nights, the year it came, and I never said one word to you about it, because there's a place at the base of my throat. I have written about it elsewhere. A line that holds its papers and does not move, and the book went into the line and the line did not move, and by the time you asked, the not saying had set up so hard that it had become forgetting. But that's a real thing, son. A man can file a thing so deep that the filing eats the thing. I stood at the mailbox and read that seed catalog cover to cover, out in the yard, in the cold, because a man uses the ritual he has. And then I went in and entered the date. And the other one I'd been dreading, because I keep the chart and I could see it coming down the column at me for 3 years. You were 15 when you said it and I was 55, and I heard it this spring, at 60, in the truck with the engine off. That you had no idea what it feels like to have somebody fight for you. 15. I was in the room when you said it the first time, and I heard the disrespect and I answered the disrespect, because disrespect was the only frequency my equipment picked up in those years. This spring it came back with the rest of it attached, the part that had been below the waterline the whole time, and I'd had to sit down on the porch steps, at 60, a strong man, and I am going to write the confession once and never again. You were not being disrespectful. You were reporting. You were a boy filing an accurate report from inside my own house, and I judged its tone. There are more coming, and they get younger every year, and I know the direction this runs. Your sentences get shorter as they get younger. At the bottom of the sack, the last one to arrive, and I have done that subtraction too. It's the only page of the book I don't like to open. Will be from when you were small, and it will be 1 word, maybe 2, and it's going to land on a man young enough to feel the whole of it with no scar tissue in the way. They save the shortest for last. Whoever built this arrangement, that part was well built, and I would like a word with them. There is a name for what I am on, and I heard it in church long before I understood I would ever ride it. Everything in my raising pointed one direction. Up. The songs went up. The steeple went up. The whole doctrine was a staircase aimed at the sky, and a man climbed it or a man failed it, and there was no third option on the card. I climbed. 40 years of climbing, neon ledger and folder, everything in this house pointed up the way the couch points at the box. And now I am on the down staircase, the one the doctrine only ever named to frighten children, and I am going to enter what nobody in any pew ever told me, because I have checked it against the railing with my own hand. It is the same staircase. There was only ever one. Up is just the direction we were ordered to face on it. Down is the direction the sentences arrive from. One flight, creased once at the landing, so that up and down are not 2 staircases but the 2 faces of a single folded thing. And the door at the bottom, nobody tells you this part either. It is not locked. It never was. You can walk in and out of it as you please, if you are willing to go down there, ahead of your fear. The mail in this family runs 5 years late, and uphill it never runs at all. Downhill, it finds me every year now, on schedule. If this is the road they warned me about, then the warning was the lie, and my son's sentences have been waiting at the bottom of it all along, and I am going down to collect them anyway. Every one of them, and I would like to see somebody stop me. And now the Count.
You were born when I was 40. Your whole life I have been 40 years up the road from you. And that was the treaty, the one every father signs without reading. It go first, I stay ahead, I die ahead, and the distance never changes.
The distance is changing. You are climbing and I am descending, and we close at 2 years per year, and I'd have run the figure maybe 400 times on the same pocket calculator, as if it might expedite the process. When you are 56, I will be 56.
4 years from now.
3. Come spring. I have been older than you every day of your life, and you won't know what that means until it's gone, and for me it is going. Older was my whole kit. Older was the chair I sat in, and the voice I used, and the reason I never had to finish a sentence. Every conversation we ever had, I held the high ground and called it the head of the table. But when we are both 56, there's no table. The two men, the same age, in an open field, and no procedure, and I am afraid of it in a way I was never afraid of dying. I want that entered. I had a folder for death. There's no folder for equal. And I want it. Both of those are true at once, and I am done pretending the ledger takes 1 entry per line. I want it more than I have wanted anything in either direction of my life. I don't know what happens at 56. I don't know if you will come, or where the field is, or what two men the same age say to each other when one is arriving out of the future and the other out of the past. I know that I will be there, getting younger, which turns out to be the same thing as getting ready. And I know what I will do until then, because it is what I have done every day since the April Miney came back. I count the days.
You always counted.
Stairs, days, the times I said certain things. I used to watch you doing it and think the numbers were the point, and file it under nerves. The sense of that one came back to me last winter, somewhere in the middle of a night, with the rest attached, the way they do now. The numbers were never the point. Counting is how a man holds still while a thing too big to say gets bigger. You were holding still all those years, 3 feet to mine left. Well, so was I, son. And neither of us knew the other was doing it, and that's either the saddest thing I've ever written with the only company I ever gave you, and I am no longer sure those are different things.
3 years, come spring. And then 2.
And then whatever word it is that 2 equal men use for hello. That one has not arrived yet. It is somewhere down at the bottom of the stack, getting younger, coming toward me at the same speed I am coming toward you. I take what I can get. That's the oldest entry in my book, and the page shines. I have written it so many times. But this once, for the first time in either direction, what I can get is on its way to me, at 2 years per year, and it is everything, and I am going to be young enough to hold it.
And now that was unexpected.
Enter it.